Hey guys, I want to talk about the concept of the cosmic game and explore what the future could look like for us. So I'll start by saying that I work in clean energy and we're developing clean energy generation technologies to take humanity off the grid. So to evolve the way that we think about and consume energy so that we can both heal our planet and provide the opportunity for our species to live long term on Mother Earth. And the technologies are here. They've actually been around for a long time. It's just simply a matter of commercializing them and bringing these technologies to market on a widespread scale. So let's first examine the notion of energy in the first place and this idea that there's a scarcity of energy, because I think it's a bit of a silly one. So, we exist in an infinite universe with an infinite amount of energy. You and I are born into existence without much effort on our conscious part. So, we're existing here before we even know what we are. And, there's food that grows naturally to sustain us. So all of the resources exist naturally and can sustain us. Now, I recognize how there are certain parts of the world where people don't have enough food and everything, but again, this is all due to certain societal and cultural and political structures that we've put into place, we as in all of humanity. Certain individuals could be a little bit more responsible for the way things are operating, but the onus is on all of us to create the world that we want to live in that benefits as many people as possible and humanity as a whole. So if we consider that the clean energy technologies exist and what this might look like. So part of our strategy with Sunroom Energy, once we bring these products to market, is that we'll be able to offer energy at a decreasing rate over time. So rather than jacking up our rates long term, we have a plan to bring our rates down over time. And the reason we even have to charge at all is just to simply sustain our company so that we can bring these technologies to more people worldwide. But I have visions of a long-term potential which is providing energy for free to everybody, because that's what energy is. It's infinitely abundant, and therefore it should be accessible by all people. And I'm certainly not the only one who shares this philosophy, and I know there are people all around the world working on clean energy, and it's just a matter of critical mass being achieved so that these technologies are widespread amongst everyone. So now, and I'm not exactly sure of the time scale of what point it'll be when clean energy is available to all for free. But let's imagine what that world looks like. So if we have energy for free, then that means we can create things like artificial farming in areas where there's not enough sunlight to grow food. And that translates into an infinite amount of nutrition, because we can grow all the food that we need in order to sustain ourselves, and it's being powered by clean energy. Similar to the concept of when there are fewer people on the planet, the sun providing all of our energy to grow our food, and nobody was paying for the sun, right? Like the photosynthesis was free. So we can evolve to a different form of that free energy. And now let's imagine the world where we have an infinite amount of free energy, an infinite amount of free food. What else is there that we really need? What two other things have inherent value, or monetary value in the very least? And there's not that much. So then if we consider the direction that technology's headed right now, and things like nanotechnology and 3D printing, and for anyone who's not familiar with nanotechnology, the basic concept is that we can assemble things at the molecular level, and we can assemble things very quickly too. So there are these a concept called the nanobot, let's say. And imagine you're building a skyscraper from the molecular level. So you're assembling the molecules to create the steel, to create the cement, to create everything that you need at the molecular level. And these little nanobots are working on that molecular level. And so imagine the first floor of a skyscraper. Let's say it takes 1 week for the nanobots to assemble the foundation in that very first floor of the skyscraper. Well, what's interesting about the nanobots is that they can self-replicate. So during the time they're building the first floor, they're also essentially procreating. And so that means by the second floor, they'll have duplicated, and the second floor will only take 3.5 days to build. And then floor 3 will only take 1.75 days. Floor 4 will take less than a day. So you can see this exponential rate of increasing manifestation, let's say. And so, by the top floor, things are just like bang, 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 bang. And we're just essentially snapping things into three-dimensional reality. And this is a concept that was explored in Star Trek decades probably even before I was born, and with these devices called replicators. And the replicator is quite similar to what we're hoping to achieve in 3D printing. So this notion that at some point everybody will have access to 3D printing, at which point we can manifest anything we want into physical reality, essentially at the snap of our fingers. So it'll be like, hey, I need a pad of paper and a pen. Boom, we have it. Or I need a laptop. Boom, I can make it. Or I need a house. Boom, got it. So this is going to, I think, allow humanity to remember itself as creator gods of the universe and recognize our divinity. So I think oftentimes the reason we don't necessarily recognize that we are the creators of reality is due to a bit of dissonance between and disconnect between the origin of an idea and the realization of that idea coming to fruition. So let's consider the skyscraper again. Right now, it takes a person will have the idea of a skyscraper, and then it might, they have to build the blueprints, they have to find the funding, they have to find the strategic partners, and then, they go on this step-by-step process, and then 10 years later, there is a skyscraper in the middle of a city. So, that time sequence might make people forget about the fact that they really did create this incredible structure. But now imagine with nanotechnology and with 3D printing, when it's like, I want a skyscraper, I want to build one, I have this idea, and just bang, we can snap it into existence. So, now with free energy, with an infinite abundance of food, and being able to create anything into physical reality, we will truly enter a time of infinite and total abundance, and there will be nothing to want for. So this is where I think that it becomes a really interesting scenario, right? Because now that we have nothing to want for, what will we do? And my friend Ryan and I were talking about this recently, and I don't think we're the only ones. But imagine you have absolutely everything that you possibly want. What might you do? Well, you might start to explore the notion of scarcity. So create these simulations where, let's say, role-playing games in which you enter them to experience things like lack or pain just as a game, essentially, because you're already totally taken care of and you have everything you need. So let's say we create a game and we want to feel what it's like to be on fire. Like we want to feel what it's like to be burning. And so we enter this simulation, we experience it, all the while knowing that we are simply playing a game and we can pull out of it at any time we want. So it's not necessarily torturous or anything, it's just simply experiential. Okay, so now we've made this simulation that we know is a game. And let's take it a step further. Now, if we truly have everything we want, and then we have this simulation, if we take it a step further, we might create a game that is so convincing that we forget that we're even playing the game, and thus we totally invent a reality in which there is scarcity, in which there is lack, in which there is separation and competition amongst different entities. And so it's almost the imposition of scarcity coming from a place of total abundance as essentially a thought experiment or a means of exploration. And that begs the question, and maybe not all of you will agree, but I think this is the direction we're heading, to this total unity, to this infinite abundance. And so this notion begs the question of, is this what's already happening? And are we living in a simulation in which we think there's scarcity as human beings, but in reality we've invented this scenario as a means of simply exploring and experiencing and playing with the universe, which is ourself? Because, I've said this before, but we don't just live in the universe, we are the universe, and we are a way for the universe to experience itself. So I think if you contemplate this notion a little bit, I hope that it instills you with a deep sense of peace and the recognition that we already have absolutely everything that we need. We have and we are the infinite cosmos that contains all things, absolutely everything. That's us, that's you, that's me, and by that virtue, there is nothing to worry about or even want for, because we already have it all. So, when thinking about that, I encourage you to pursue the things that matter to you most, because what else is there to do? Just have fun, recognize that life is largely about fun and play and experiencing things, and hopefully that brightens your day a little bit. I love thinking about it, and let me know what you think.